Hello and welcome to the Monster Mechanics Podcast, where we take creatures of myth and media and see how they can be improved. I am your host, Scott Paladin, and with me as always is Zach Jaquays. What are we talking about today, Zach?
Hi, this week we're talking about Mari Lwyd.
All right, so the Mari Lwyd, or the Mari Lwyd, or how it's the pronunciation is weird because it's Welsh, and the Welsh do just horrible things to the Phoenician alphabet. They've like reassigned all the phonemes to other stuff. They got some vowels that we don't have in English, and more power to them. I'm sure that Welsh isn't all that bad, but it particularly is rough for us. So we're just going to power our way through on Mari Lwyd. So this is a Christmas wassailing tradition from South Wales, where they take a big ass horse skull. Well, all horse skulls are large, but they take a horse skull and they put it on a pole and they decorate it. They give it sometimes they give it fancy eyelashes. It's great, and they put a sheet over it. And then the tradition is that the people who are singing, they carry this horse skull puppet called the Mari Lwyd from house to house, and they start singing to the people in the house, and the people in the house have to come out and sing in response. And the first person to run out of like songs to sing or lyrics to recite loses. And if the horse group loses, then they travel on to the next house. And if the household loses, then the wassailers, the revelers, come inside and they raid your liquor cabinet and eat all of your snacks. And they will sometimes chase the children around the house, snapping at them with the horse skull. And this is what happens at Christmas, which is a freaking metal ass celebration here. Like, this is totally, like this is dark times of the year stuff. And I personally love this tradition. I think that it's hilariously weird and also like dark and like has a great aesthetic. I highly encourage you to go image search the Mari Lwyd. For spelling purposes, Marilwyd. Mari Lwyd.
So I think probably my favorite thing about this is just you break into someone's house and they try to arrest you and you're like, no, I have the horse skull.
Yes.
I'm entitled.
Yeah. It's like you hear the knocking of the door and it's like, oh God, it's guys with a horse skull that's wearing a sheet. Oh yeah, they look great. I want to build one of these one day. I don't think I'm going to use a full-on horse skull because they're large and heavy, but I got a 3D printer. I can make a big ass puppet. So, one of the things also that I will, there was a song, a particular the one of the versions of the legend of the origin of this horse is that she was kicked out of the manger that Jesus was born in because they needed the room for everyone's favorite Lord and Savior, and she had to go out into the cold and died with her foal, and then so her ghost haunts the Welsh countryside.
That's pretty
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Love it. Yeah.
The darker side of the Christmas story.
Man, I fucking love dark Christmas stuff. It's so much better. We could expand this out to the Icelandic stuff too if we wanted to, but if you there's the Christmas cat from Iceland where it's like this giant ass cat that will leap on you and eat you. And I think that's associated with Grilla the Christmas witch, who similarly wants to eat you. And she has her 11 sons who do different things, like there's spoon licker and sheep botherer and stuff. They're very strange.
I feel like we need to create a rogues gallery for the Christmas rogues gallery.
I mean, there's also Krampus. Which we
you get Krampus, you get Mari Lwyd, you get the cannibal cat.
Yeah, you get the Christmas cat, you get Grilla. I think there's got to be more too. I mean, some of them you have to be careful though, because some of those darker Christmas myths get into uncomfortable territory because there's Schwarzenegger from Central Europe, which is just back when Santa had slaves, and that was just an okay thing. Yeah. I will encourage you. There's a pretty funny short story, or it's actually read by Dave Sedaris. He actually reads it, called 6 to 8 Black Men, talking about when he went to, I think it was the Netherlands. They started talking about Schwarzenegger, which is in this case, in their version of it, Santa runs around with a gang of 6 to 8 black men who will sometimes beat up ne'er-do-wells.
Interesting.
It's Dave Sedaris is a funny guy. I would recommend this. It's a short little thing. It's hilarious because it's very uncomfortable. Okay, we've strayed a little bit off of our original topic though. So we have at the basis of its core, we have a singing horse skeleton that wants to come inside people's houses and drink their liquor. And I think that is ripe territory for some cool stuff, right?
Yeah. I think, and I do think it's interesting that it travels around in a throng of, other people.
Oh yeah, that's true. It does have it has an entourage.
Yeah. Or a cult or something.
Yeah. So it could have like a hypnotic component maybe where it like compels people to follow it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Or maybe it's just charismatic. People just like it a lot. And so like it's got a cult of personality around it.
I mean, who doesn't like a horse skull in a bed sheet?
I mean, I love it. I think they look fantastic. I would follow that. I love that people often like give it ears and eyes. Like it's still a horse skull, but it's got like balls, like a colored sphere inside of its eye socket, and then they'll give it little horse ears, and it gives it a ton of personality.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
You just like decorate it with ribbons and bells and holly.
It looks so cool. Yeah. It's like that good mixture of like festive and also dark. Love
like
it.
It feels like an actually unsettling version of like the bedsheet ghost.
Yeah. I really just like the contrast of like festive and macabre. Is this okay? So was this actually a horse at some point, or is this some other entity?
So like I'm seeing like some versions that have like and it's mostly just art rather than the actual skull, but like versions with like antlers or whatnot. And it immediately makes me think of like the Wendigo.
Yeah. Where it's like a person that violated some sort of edict or something, maybe.
Yeah, or like if there's like maybe like this is like sort of like the mischievous parallel to the Wendigo in some manner.
Okay, so I have one thing. I do love the antlers, and I know that it's not a traditional aspect of it.
Yeah,
but looking at the more traditional like actual built versions of it, because it at its heart it's just a horse skull on a pole with like maybe somebody under the sheet, but that creates a very non-horse like silhouette. You know, like it creates a sort of odd thing. And what that says to me is that maybe the horse skull was appropriated by this entity.
Okay.
Like it was using found objects in order to construct its body. And what you could get then is like, this is some sort of entity that is going about its purposes, and it's grabbing things that it's finding in the Welsh countryside, or the countryside of whatever fantasy world we're working in.
Yeah.
And so it typically grabs some sort of skull, but like horse skulls, not that hard to find in a medieval world, probably, you know?
Yeah.
But it could also grab antlers. I also like the idea of like a body made of like sticks and twigs underneath there, like an articulated skeleton made of like driftwood and stuff.
Okay. Kind of like a wicker body kind of thing.
Yeah. Or like, and like it has like all the, you know, it's just using what it can find. So it's like grabbing things that sort of work for its purposes. And so sometimes you'll see it with like antlers or maybe just one antler, or like, and like sometimes it's a horse skull. Maybe occasionally you get like a sheep skull or a cow skull, or maybe even deer or elk or something like that. Do they have elk in Britain?
I don't know.
Is that just that's us? We just have elk. Okay.
Apparently they disappeared some 8,000 years ago. So there might be some, fossilized remains, but.
Okay. So actually the Irish elk is fucking amazing. They are huge and they have these giant ass antlers. Like
holy
if you just, if you just like, okay. So yeah, imagine that thing's coming at you in the middle of the dark
like bat
winter.
Wings.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this entity is just, it like gathers up bones and twigs and maybe even like found objects like old tools that have been discarded. So there's like maybe rusty iron in there and stuff. Like you can imagine like incorporated into its spine as like a scythe blade and stuff, like all rusted. And
God, there's this art I saw a long time ago. It was actually in relationship to like Chernobyl or whatever, like the Chernobyl disaster. And it was like this horrific mishmash of like humans and soldiers and like cow skulls and stuff. And it was just total body horror type stuff. But
well, that's our bread and butter here. And then that explains why it's got such a sort of found object aesthetic, is that like it's grabbing stuff to sort of construct its body. Okay, so yeah, the rough translation is something like the gray mare for the name. Okay, so that was what I was trying to look up. Cool. All right. We also know, and like I think that also fits with the sort of like sackcloth, maybe even like maybe our version of this would have more tattered cloth and stuff like that, things that have been sort of like discarded and slightly rotten, you know, because it's like gathering these things up. Ooh. Okay, this is a change, but from the legend. But as it's going from house to house, maybe it's asking for people to donate something that it can improve its own form with.
Okay.
So like it goes to the first house and it's like, what do you have to like help me make myself? And they give it like, I don't know, they give it some nicer wood, or they give it like a wicker basket or something like that, which it incorporates into itself. And then it goes to the next house and the next house. And like somebody, maybe they give it some, you know, baubles, which become its eyes. And then like it gets something like it gets like better and better. And like the body becomes more and more, cohesive and also ornate as it goes along from house to house until I guess something happens. Maybe
I kind of like that the spirit of the Mari Lwyd is sort of like by the end of like the holiday season or whatever, it's basically like an amalgamation of the goodwill of the village. Like it's sort of like a barometer for the generosity of the village.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So this is it's the personification or the what's the word? Like it's the activation point for everybody taking care of each other during the cold, dark, hungry parts of the year where there's not a lot of resources. And it like, and if your community is not healthy and like, coming together, if they're all isolated and not willing to help each other out, then like this thing is going to continue gathering stuff and get worse and worse over time. Right. So like if your community isn't banding together to like help this thing out, then it's going to become a monster. But if it's able to travel from house to house and get assistance and additional resources and stuff, then it becomes nicer and nicer and better until, you know, like the solstice or something like that, when it finally hits its like crescendo. And then instead of that, it becomes like a benevolent deity or something like that. And it like helps people get through the dark part of the year.
I like the idea that you kind of incorporate like the gift giving aspect into it too. Like if it's visiting your house or whatever, like, and like the village has been sufficiently generous and whatnot, it might like leave things that you're in need of like on your doorstep rather than take from you.
Yeah. Okay. So, Yeah, I like this. I like the idea that if it's being fostered well, like people are giving to it and things that are valuable, that like that stuff can be paid back out to those who need it, but isn't or deserve it, but isn't necessarily like a one-to-one thing. Like you're not necessarily going to get stuff in. So it has to be selfless. You're like, I'm just going to give, you know, it's going to go to somebody who needs it. And then like for the various iterations of this thing over time, like because it comes back yearly, year over year, it's going to have gone back for as long as anybody remembers, then the things that it gives back out are literally the objects that other people had donated to it in the past, right? Like, or sometimes in the future, like it might pay out something that hasn't been given to it yet to somebody who needs it. But like this thing sort of exists out of time, or maybe it's like, you know, it manifests in a weird parallel, you know, way to time. That'd be very cool.
Yeah. Like I love the idea of, like some sort of temporal loop with this thing where like it gives something to this family at a time of their need. And then, you know, a few years later, like they're doing well enough. They're like, okay, we'll donate this to the Mari Lwyd. And that ends up being the thing that they received in the past.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then maybe it's also like, it could get really weird. Like maybe this thing manifests across multiple like dimensions or timelines. And sometimes things get sort of moved between them a little bit. Like you'll get something really strange, you know, with like iconography that you don't understand and like materials that seem strange or like, you know, that'd be cool. I'm down for that.
The multiverse of Mari Lwyd.
I like it. So we have this thing that like moves from place to place. I like the idea that it starts like it has to be going on for a while. One thing that's always weird to me, it never jived with me is the fact that the winter solstice is so early in winter, right? Like it seems like it should be the middle of winter, but like because of the way that actual temperatures lag behind the astronomical changes of, you know, the shortening of the days, it happens actually really early in the winter. Like you know, December 21st, 22nd is not.
It's definitely not like the coldest time of the year or anything.
Yeah, it's not that, especially not here. Like we're in North Texas. It's not even like it's like 70 degrees outside on the solstice.
We save that for February.
Yeah. End of January and February are always our coldest months. But so if it starts at like, you know, end of October, that's actually not that much time. Like only November into December. That's only like 2 months. Maybe it starts earlier than that. Maybe it starts from like the equinox or something like that. So you have a good couple of months that this thing could show up at your house.
Yeah.
I also like the idea that maybe it's because it's a manifestation of the oncoming coldness and darkness of winter. Like, I love the idea that it would have like physical foreshadowings so that like, you know, that it like on a night when it seems to get dark sooner than it should, a night when it's colder, like it's a particularly cold August night or a particularly cold September night with the wind whipping up and stuff. And you're like, oh, shit, I think the Mari Lwyd might show up, you know? And like, it has this like this, you know, sort of early onset of winter aspect coming in. And then like,
I also love that you might hear it singing before you ever see it.
That was what I was thinking too, is like, you might start hearing the like maybe just in the wind, you start to hear the sort of song, you know?
Yeah.
And like, sometimes you'll hear it and it won't show up, but then a lot of times it gets louder. Sometimes it'll get louder and louder until it's at the door, you know? Okay. So how does that interact with the idea of it having this entourage of people who are carrying along? Are those further manifestations of itself? Are like these also entities made out of creatures, or are they people traveling with it? Or
I like the idea that maybe they're like, rather than being like actual people, or like they're like spectral figures, or like we mentioned, kind of like other timelines or universes, or like if it has like, but you're basically like seeing like sort of reflections of the space around it, like in other universes, like just kind of like it has like a lens or bubble of people around it.
Okay, so what you're seeing are like projections of people from other universes or other times and places.
Yeah.
Who are like, okay, so that brings me to the idea that maybe what you can donate to it is like your time and service. Like you could leave with it for the night and to attend it, be one of its like, to become one of its entourage for a while. And like the people who do that, like come back changed because they've seen other worlds and stuff. And like projections of other universes, and like it's like I could see that as being a very affecting experience. That's really cool. Yeah,
like they come back, just like I want to think of like a word they would call it, like mare touched, or
yeah, that's cool. Mare touched is nice. Like. Yeah, the idea that they would be sort of enlightened, or maybe a little bit like you get some of that sort of like, you know, you've seen beyond your own world, and like maybe you've seen beyond your own world and sort of gained an insight into what is possible, you know? That's cool. I like that a lot. And like, ooh, okay, what if there's a song that can call it too? Like in your time of need.
Okay.
Like you can summon it by singing.
I do like that. Yeah. Like, is that
still, that's rad.
is that still only during like the winter months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I think so. The idea is maybe that in the fall and early part of the winter, before resources have gotten real scarce, right? Like there's still the woods are still full of animals and like berries and stuff. You've just had the harvest come in. Everything is still plentiful, or at least stable, right? That's when this thing comes through, and that's when it is most likely to be like gathering up its resources, right? And that's when you're expected to donate, when you have stuff to donate. And then after the solstice, that's when things start to get hard. That's the hard part of the winter through January and February. And that's when you're more likely to like call out to it and have it show up. And whether or not you're able to actually summon it sort of determines about whether or not you have the need, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you truly do need, like it's one of those things where it's like, you don't abuse this privilege. Like if you call out to it when it's, oh, that's the good idea. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. We were talking about how if your community isn't healthy, that it will like turn evil and become a monster.
Yeah.
And like, if you call out to it and you don't need it, you're trying to abuse the privileges, you get the monster that was created by some community, right? Like you get the evil version of it who shows up. And that's the one that raids your pantry and drinks all your liquor and stuff and scares your children, right? Yeah. Like it comes in like a swarm of locusts and consumes all of the extra that you have that you didn't need, you know?
Okay. Yeah. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Like if you,
and then this thing becomes a sort of,
like, and the way we would describe this thing, like that'd be kind of like horrifying if this thing's like comes like sweeping in, crawling in your window and.
Oh yeah. Yeah. With like hands made of old like farm tools and like bits of bone, and it's got this massive like horse skull with like antlers with like stuff like rags hanging off of them, and it comes in and it just like it chases you out of your own house, and you hear like horrible noises and like raucous singing like while it's like messing with your house, and then you see like only from what like you're looking in through your windows to your own house, and you see other figures and its attendants and stuff, and they're just like ransacking the place. And when it finally leaves, you get back in and it's just everything's gone.
Yeah.
Because you called it at a time when you didn't need, and you had stuff that you could have given, and so that stuff has now been like taken and redistributed to people who actually like need it in the dark times when they like have run out of food. And so your stuff is like, it's gone, it's been appropriated if you called for it when you didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sort of the Robin Hood of monsters.
Yeah. And it's like, because it's, there's like two versions of it. It's like, sometimes it's the manifestation of a community that doesn't value its, like doesn't come together, or doesn't like help each other, and sometimes it's the manifestation of communities that like are willing to give and willing to help each other. Yeah. So there's like two versions of it, which I think reflects the gray quality of it. Like it's not good or evil. It's somewhere in, I guess our version of it's pretty good, but like, sometimes it's nice. It's the black mare, and sometimes it's the white mare, where you get like, the one that's willing to give and help you out. And sometimes you get the black mare who, if you have called it if you're asking for more when you already have a lot, it comes in and takes everything.
Yeah. I think that's a really cool. And I wonder if there's like we mentioned that you can like donate your service, but I wonder if it like the black mare like abducts you, or.
I think that maybe the service is how you get out of the roughest version of that situation. Like this is the Scrooge situation, right? Where like you're a miser and you're not helping people, and you're an asshole, right?
Yeah. And
you call out to them because you're like, oh, I've heard this thing brings people, goods and riches and stuff, because, it's happened occasionally in my community. So I'll sing the song and bring it to my house, and then it comes and it ravages everything. And you are given the option, or if you're smart, you figure out the option of like, well, okay, I've screwed up here. How do I make amends? And one of the things you can do is travel with the mare and give it your service and like see what it actually does. Where like it carries you to situations where it's helping people out, and like you actually see the effects of that.
Yeah, I really like that. It's sort of like the ghost of the future.
Yeah. Yeah, ghost. It's one of the. It becomes one of the Christmas ghosts at that point, which is really cool. Yeah, I like that, and it like that would be that's rad. I love the idea of like that's some fan fiction I would go for, where Scrooge like calls out to the Mari Lwyd and like pulls out it comes and takes him and like shoves him into like but instead of being like a giant Muppet, it's like a huge horrifying horse skull creature.
Yeah. And I love the idea that like it can't communicate at all aside from the song.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah. And you have to figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then as it carries you from location to location, doing things like at first it's doing the same thing to you. Like when you first join it, it's doing the same thing that it did to you, where it's like ravaging these households and like consuming everything. Mm-hmm. And then slowly over time, you see more of the instances where it's showing up and being given things by people who are like helping out and stuff. And you see more and more of that version of things. And then you start to see it like giving to those who need it. And you start to figure out, well, why does it do this versus that? And over time,
by Tiny Tim's house and a little crutch falls out.
Yeah, that's rad. I didn't pay attention to when we started this, so I have no idea how long we've been going. I think we might be like 20 minutes in. Okay. Okay. Do we want to try to incorporate any of the other weird Christmas myth ideas? I mean, I love the fact that we roped in
A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. That's a cool iteration of it. Do we want to talk about like Krampus or the Christmas witch or anything like that? Or
well, tell me about the Christmas witch. I'm not familiar with that one.
So Grilla, the Christmas witch, is an Icelandic legend where she's a giantess with an appetite for the flesh of mischievous children.
Oh.
Whom she cooks in a large pot. Then I'm sorry, I said it was the Christmas cat earlier. It's actually the Yule cat, which is a massive, like just cat, big black cat that will leap on you. I think that the way to get out of having the Christmas cat eat you is that you have to be wearing new clothes, which is very strange. Grilla also has 12 sons, who are the sons of her and her husband, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. 13. I'm sorry. I said 11 earlier. Then I rounded it up to 12 and I got to 13 eventually. And they each have their own knights. So you've got Sheepcoat Claude. He harasses sheeps. You have Gully Gawk, who hides in gullies and steals milk, I guess. You got Stubby, who steals pans to eat to eat all people's leftovers. You got Spoon Licker, who goes and licks people's wooden spoons. You got Pot Scraper, who steals leftovers from pots. You got Bowl Licker, who hides under your bed, waits till you have put down your bowl, and then he steals it. You got Door Slammer, who like slams doors in the middle of the night. You got
very, very literal.
I'm not doing the Icelandic name, so it's like Skirgamur, which is Skir Gobbler, which is apparently a guy who steals yogurt. You got Sausage Swiper, you got Window Peeper, you got Doorway Sniffer, Meat Hook.
Doorway Sniffer?
He has an abnormally large nose and has an acute sense of smell, which he uses to locate leaf bread. Icelandic people, man, you guys got like some serious like Tolkien fairy tale vibes going on with your shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also a guy who eats candles.
Like you do.
Candle stealer. Yeah. Then there's also like there are additional ones in the like Apocrypha, I guess, because they're not modern. They're not known to modern people, but like, so these are just generally like terrifying, harassing demons.
Yeah.
Or like, they're just there.
I was saying maybe we can go back to like why there would be there would be this the spirit in these villages of the Mari Lwyd.
Oh sure, yeah, we can look at the origin of it. So yeah, the original, not the original, but like one of the origin stories is that this was a horse, right? Like this is the gray mare, right? And sometimes associated with Christianity or not. People always, the thing is though, wassailing traditions are not uncommon in Great Britain. there's a bunch of different ones. I'm going to send you the picture of the hoodin dog, I think it's called, or something like that.
Hoodin dog.
Which is just simultaneously unsettling and also hilarious. But this sort of tradition of having like a thing, like a creature on a stick that you travel around with and sing with is not uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me of like those, I forget the name of them, but they're like the little wooden horse head on a stick that you would like ride around as a child.
That's the hoodening dog that I sent you. Those are often called huddle horses, and it's from the same etymological root. Yep, 100%. Old ball, old tup, old horse. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these things where it's like a tradition of traveling around and like, you know, singing at people's houses and stuff with these things.
Yeah.
So like maybe this is, and maybe the modern ritual that we're seeing is a ritualistic reenactment of something that happened long ago when magic was still in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think our version is actually originally a horse, because we're talking about the found object aspect of it, which would explain why in various villages it's different. It's known as like different kinds of creatures, right? Like some places it's a dog, some places it's a horse, some places it's a guy. You know, it's because different objects were made the Mari Lwyd in that area, right?
I kind of like the idea that like this was maybe like the wassailing was an original tradition where they go from house to house and like donate things to people in need and sing for them and just sort of like create that neighborhood community. And like one of the, maybe for this particular village, the main thing was like they would load up this old horse or this old mare with the goods, and like that spirit kind of imbued that horse over the years. And when that horse passed, like the spirit just kind of like picked up that tradition and carried on with it.
Okay. That's rad. I like that. And sort of like gained purpose from it, these actions that it did in life, and then carried that on.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's a good, it's kind of like a sweeter version than like what's often marked as the origin of the gray mare, where like it was literally a horse that like died out in the cold, you know? And like, I like the idea that it came from originally people's goodwill and good behavior, basically, that they were all doing something nice in life. And so it decided to carry that on ad infinitum. And that would also, if it had started as a horse, that would explain why it can't really communicate now. Like it can't speak English because it's a horse. Like they don't do that. But it can't. But the song is imbued in it in a way that it's like it's not exactly using the song to communicate. It's just that's part of its existence now.
Like it's just like that. Like this was an experience that happened, and so it's just replicating that experience, like the collection of goods and dispersal of goods. So like that's what it's building its body out of.
Yeah. I like that. Does this thing do is it only existent in this one half of the year, basically, or does it do anything during its off time?
Yeah, I'm kind of picturing it like that's just sort of like when the spirit awakens is like during these winter months.
Yeah. Maybe we'd introduce some aspects of it existing outside of time. Mm-hmm. So like it literally doesn't interact with those other parts of the year because its cross section of its existence doesn't intersect with our timeline during those periods.
Yeah.
And maybe that means that like the actual origin of it is somewhere in the middle of our timeline, where like this is a thing that people do, or it could even be a closed loop where people mimicking the legend started to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the actual horse that was part of the ceremony, that then its effects reach both forward and backward in time and becomes its own origin. Like it becomes the thing that inspired people to do in its life what would cause it to then go on to be the spirit, like it's a whole stable time loop thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I could go for that. I can always enjoy a nice stable time loop. If we're talking about Britain and talking about horses, I'm going to bring up the white horse of Ulster, the Uffington white horse, which is this like strangely beautiful chalk figure. In a large parts of England, if you just like dig down past the soil, you're going to find white chalk. Mm-hmm. And there's a tradition of carving things into hillsides for people to see. And one of the oldest ones is the Uffington White Horse, which is this like, it's got that sort of prehistoric aesthetic of like, gestural lines, which I really love.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd never heard of that before, but that's really neat.
Yeah, they and there's a huge number of these figures in England. There's recreations of the Uffington White Horse. There's a big dude. Hill figures. Here we go. The Creme Abbess Giant, who is just a big dude with a club and a penis.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
He's quite well endowed.
Yeah. I know weird facts about these things, like the fact they did some sort of imaging on him from and realized that the way the lines originally worked, that he was less well endowed until somebody accidentally combined his junk with his belly button. And thought that the belly button was the top of the penis, and so he got retconned into having a larger penis. Yeah. And there's like the Long Man of Wilmington, which is this big, another guy with like 2 lines and stuff. It's fascinating stuff. And one of the things that's weird about the white figure, the hill figures, is that it can be difficult to determine exactly how old they are, because they themselves are not like there's not, you can't, it's hard to like carbon date because it's just like the absence of the topsoil, right? Mm-hmm. And so you kind of have to go semi on like historical records, but like that only goes back so far. And there are a number of like Victorian knockoffs and stuff, because the Victorians love to around with stuff. So like there are things that could be thousands of years old or might only be like a couple hundred years old. It's hard to tell. And there's also a ton of lost ones, because they just, if you don't maintain them, you can they will overgrow, which is an interesting aspect. The idea that if you don't maintain it, it'll overgrow and fade kind of ties into our idea of the gray mare, the Mari Lwyd, where like it requires the upkeep of the community to. So could you have like maybe you could tie the Mari Lwyd to a hill figure, where like it also requires in the other parts of the year for people to maintain it, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe that's the other half of the year is you have a different horse that you have to like. It's about like maintaining the ritual of going and cleaning up the hill figure, so that this thing will help bring a harvest or something, or like a bountiful crop or something.
Well, that'd be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea of there being 2 horses for 2 halves of the year. We have this whole horse-based economy.
What do you think about like suppose something happens to a village during like an earlier part of the year, like either the villagers like migrate, or there's a plague that just like wipes out the population. And so you have like sort of like a ghost town. And I'm picturing just sort of like an abandoned village with like the Mari Lwyd just kind of stalking from house to house, just as it gradually fades from memory.
Yeah, and gets like, and it's like not, it's it's just like rattling and like getting worse. Like its actual physical form is getting worse and worse every year, because it doesn't have things to replenish it, and it's like kind of grabbing whatever it can find, to like make itself. And that would get creepy. And then like if you stumble across one of these communities, I'm not sure that it would be, because like it wouldn't have been fed bad feeling. Like it wouldn't have been like going to house and finding people who like refuse it. So it's not finding selfishness, it's just finding a lack of things. So instead of being like evil and avaricious, or like, wanting to punish the evildoers, it's just sort of like desperate and fading, which is its own kind of creepiness.
Or maybe it sees like it is everything is needed. Like, and so it's just like going from like all these abandoned houses and just like leaving random treasures behind, and it's gradually just sort of like disassembling itself.
It's running out of things to give, so it's like leaving like driftwood in people's houses, like these empty houses and stuff. Yeah, that's rad. Creepy as Very cool. I'm not sure where to go with that. I love the idea. That like this is kind of the end process of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the community is dead.
Yeah, the hill figures is kind of an interesting tie-in.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like the same village that would have the Mari Lwyd would also have like these rituals with the hill figures kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, where like the entire community has to come together to maintain this sort of like symbol of the community as a whole. So it seemed like a thematic tie-in to what we were talking about, where everybody has to sort of like give in order to maintain the Mari Lwyd. And this instead would be about them going and doing a ritual in order to like anchor some sort of like horse spirit or some other figure for the other part of the year. I'm thinking about like that because that feels like not something you would do in the middle of winter, but like, you know, in the spring when you're sowing or something like that, you go and you cut into the bedrock to expose the chalk. And then I wonder if, because like this is also the area where my brain's all over the place today. So this is also the sort of countryside where crop circles originated. Famous. I don't know if you should know this by now, but some dudes got drunk in a pub one day and tied a rope to a plank and used it to flatten some cornfields in a circle and started the whole crop circle thing. But like they are cool looking. I will not deny that at all. But so there's a sort of thematic, there's a sort of aesthetic approach there as well, or connection, which would be kind of cool. Maybe there's a way to tie those two together. We're not. I don't know. We're just sort of spitballing here. I didn't come under this with a plan, man.
We never do.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we come in with like a really clear idea, but like sometimes it's just like, I don't know.
Okay, well, I never do.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I show up, punch my time card, and put in my hour, and
yeah, if that. We don't always go for a full hour. Okay, well, maybe we've taken this to the point where we can naturally call this one done.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll come up with some great ideas, you know, an hour from now. But
oh yeah, for sure. No, we did good work. This is not a problem. Let's look and see if we've got any questions here, or at least interesting ideas. We now have a prompt and submission channel on our Discord where people just send me random memes, and sometimes I post them to myself. So from the Crumpet. Its wording here makes it sound like it should be us. Which of us is most OP in a PvP situation? I think they mean which monster would be the most OP, because I don't think that either of us are you or I are neither very OP in a PvP situation. Trying to think, okay, well this always begs the problem of what the have we done in the past?
Yeah,
we have 60 freaking episodes now.
Stop expecting us to know what we've done.
And I cannot remember most of them. Yeah, I'm looking at our list here. And I'm like, I have no idea what we did for the Neogi. I don't know what we did for furries. I don't know what we did for liches.
I mean, I feel like we had some that were like the Pokemon were basically, or we had like some kaiju and like Pokemon variants, which were basically designed for PvP. Yeah.
I think also our version of because we did the Tarask at one point where it was like literally the entire planet, like raging against society that's pretty powerful, man. Yeah. I think that's the real thing is like, we've got some kaiju in here. And I think that once you get a kaiju in a PvP situation, you're kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
I know for a fact our version of Predators was super wimpy. Like we turned them into little nerds, I think, if I remember correctly. I really don't remember what we did for most of these. We did make a lot of hive minds as well, which are not particularly good for PvP. Yeah. I think I'm going to go back for the Tarask or the Leviathan because I know they're massive and awful.
I don't remember the Leviathan being that particularly hostile, though.
Oh, yeah, it was sort of neutral. You're right there. You're
I'd say
correct
probably the kaiju was a solid bet.
Yeah. We had one that was like about, it was just our kaiju episode. Those definitely won't do good because they were illusions, I remember.
Can you give me a moment? Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I was just reading about extinct megafauna because they're hilarious. Like the giant armadillos that used to live in North America. Anyway, okay. All right, next question from Alice Kira, a friend of the show at Magical Girl Hero. What is the best method of achieving invisibility?
The best method.
So obviously the H.G. Wells style, just like a scientific process that drives you mad, is probably not a good idea.
Yeah. So I've always had kind of an issue with invisibility, like that like bends light around you. Because my thinking was like, if it's bending light around your eyes, like, aren't you effectively blind?
Yeah. It like wraps you in a field of darkness from your perception because you like don't have any light in there. Yeah. I totally get that.
So functionally, I feel like some sort of chameleon-esque method is probably.
Yeah. I actually do the idea of bending light around you is cool. I like the idea that if you only do it in the way to get around the like darkness thing that you're talking about is that you only do it along one axis. So like you get a limited kind of invisibility only to certain angles of view, but from other angles of view, you're like still visible is kind of cool. It's a neat limitation.
Yeah.
But I like your, like, okay, I'm just going to like change my skin texture and color to match the world around me. Very octopus style. Yeah. It's totally cool. I'm partial to the not my problem field from Douglas Adams, where like you just exude a field of like people like don't really like even perceive you, but like it's like that's not whatever. Like it's just there. It doesn't
all I have to do to that is just hold up a piece of cardboard by a pit stop and
or a ask people for money or to take your pamphlets or flyers. Awesome. I have one that I just found on the internet. From those stupid questions. Does a welcome mat automatically allow a vampire access to a building? Because famously, vampires have to ask for permission to cross the threshold. What do you think?
Oh gosh, I kind of like the idea that it would like.
Okay, here's how it only does it if the person in the household is the one who put it out, right? Like you have to put out your own welcome mat. You couldn't just like drop a welcome mat from because it's about the intention of things. Whereas, but that being said, it has to specifically say welcome or like come on in or something. If it says like we have 5 dogs, or just like our like in front of our house, our welcome mat just has a picture of a raven on it. Like that doesn't work.
Yeah,
just it being a mat, but it has to say welcome. But if it does, I think it qualifies.
I think ours says like hello or something.
Yeah, and you can get ones that say like go away. All right. I got another one for this one's from @TheDarkFiddler. What monster would make the best theme for a Power Ranger? IG, instead of the T-Rex Ranger, you have the Bigfoot Ranger. And there's been a whole bunch of Power Rangers here. I don't have any knowledge of any Power Ranger stuff past like the original. Whenever the Green Ranger became the White Ranger, that's as far as I got.
That's pretty much where I ended as well.
Okay, and wasn't he a Liger? Like they got a little bit esoteric almost immediately to go with like a.
Yeah, because they wanted that white tiger.
He might have just been a white tiger. I think Liger's was Zoids, maybe.
Maybe.
I remember some cartoon being specifically Ligers, and I'm like, why did you guys pull Ligers? Anyway, okay. I mean, so we're immediately gonna have to disqualify all monsters that are just dudes, right? Like, it's not like a
My
Lich
mech is
Ranger.
made of 5 vampires.
I think that doesn't work. I think we need a monster. Like I think we need a creature. I do like the idea of you are the Godzilla Ranger. So like you have, because all of the other ones are like creatures much bigger and robots. And so now yours is Godzilla, much bigger and a robot. So it's like even bigger than Godzilla.
Nice.
I think there's a certain appeal to that.
God, and again, I'm blanking on everything we've done in the past.
Maybe it didn't have to be one of ours. It'd be like a Hydra, you know, we have all the heads, or like, we're just talking like, you know, mythical creatures here. Like, because you got hippogriffs and all D&D monsters, you know?
Isn't that basically what Tiamat from Dungeons and Dragons is? Like the 5-headed dragon? Like that's...
But robots, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Mecha Tiamat here.
I think that probably is a Godzilla character. Nope, that's about it. I have some like actual episode ideas, which we might do in the future, but
alrighty.
That was most of our questions. If you would like to ask us a question, you can hit us on Twitter at MonsterMPod, or you can join our Discord, which is at scottpaladin.com/Discord. We have a channel in there called Prompts and Questions, specifically for our submission. I have previously told people that you could email us. Don't email us. I haven't ever checked it. I have, and now I just feel guilty for not responding to the people who emailed me.
Yeah, just join the Discord.
It was a terrible thing to tell people to do. It's like, I don't want to check emails. I don't want to go into an email box. That's where they are. That's where the emails are. I don't want emails. Terrible sense of obligation. Yeah.
Well, if you have any thoughts or ideas about our friendly neighborhood Mari Lwyd, hit us up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Check you out next month.
All right. Till next time. See you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Monster Mechanics. If you have any comments or questions, you can always find us on Twitter at MonsterMPod or via the Discord, scottpaladin.com/Discord. If you'd like to support the podcast, leave us a review somewhere or recommend us to a friend or say you like us on Twitter. But if you want to send some money our way, patreon.com/monsterpod is the place to do it. Now for the credits. Monster Mechanics is produced and edited by me, Scott Paladin, and hosted by myself and my best friend, Zach Jaquays. All of our ideas are generated under a do what the f*** you want public license. This has been a Library of Cursed Knowledge production.